Thank y'all. Thank everybody for coming out. Before I get started, I want to put on my special NORML bling. There we go. NORML special agent. I'm a little different than most speakers. Like Greta said, I resigned from the government after 10 years. My career started in Charleston at a seaport inspecting cargo coming from Europe and the Middle East. That's kind of why I got into law enforcement. And from then it expanded to drug enforcement. I became a special agent for ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, in Baltimore, Maryland. In 2009, the Obama administration decided they needed to start ramping up the border, the situation in Mexico. I was one of, I don't know, a couple hundred agents that actually volunteered, and I went to Laredo, Texas. That's when I really opened my eyes about marijuana, and cannabis sativa, and the violence. There's 60,000, 70,000 people who were killed, who've been killed in just 6 years alone. When you work on that border and you seize drugs, you see the amount of cannabis that's coming in. The government warehouses there are so packed. Mexican cartels earn 60 to 70% of their profits from marijuana alone. There's a lot of misconceptions, especially in this area in the southeast. I'm a speaker for law enforcement against prohibition now, and I do a lot of, speeches at civic clubs, Rotary clubs, things like that. There's a lot of misconception that these Mexican cartels are, we're making money from cocaine, methamphetamines, heroin. Of course they are. There's some, but the bulk, the elephant in the room, is cannabis. That's their bread and butter is marijuana. People here in the U.S. a lot of times, say marijuana from Mexico is crap. It's brickweed and all that. It doesn't matter. Here in the southeast, we don't go buy marijuana looking for a made in USA tag. You buy the easiest stuff to get, and it gets the job done. So, we need to help Mexico in this crisis. Again, picture that 70,000 people have been killed in 6 years. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Javier Cecilia and the peace caravan that is taking place right now across the country. It kicked off in San Diego in August, and it's finishing up in Washington, D.C. I was with that caravan last week in Atlanta, Georgia, and was very moved by the victims, especially one mother. We went to Fort Benning, Georgia. Fort Benning is where the School of the Americas is located. The U.S. government and our military, Department of Defense, has trained numerous killers from Latin America there. We've taught them how to execute, to torture, and they've gone back to South and Central America and carried out those deeds. Back in the day, that was, in the name of communism, but the Cold War is over. So anyways, I was with the victims there. Los Zetas, 31 of the original members of Los Zetas, 1/3 of the 31 original members of Los Zetas trained at School of America. So we trained them in their tactics. That was the point of going there. One of the victims, I won't forget, she was probably about 45 years old. She was squeezing my hand, telling me her story. Her daughter was abducted, kidnapped, raped multiple times over a 2-week, 3-week period, and then decapitated. So I have this woman basically screaming for help, squeezing my hand. They need a break. Mexico needs some help. We need revenues here. We need to take this harmless plant off the table as far as prohibition goes. Help that government and do common sense. We're better than that. We're more humane than that. So President Obama's tried to ignore it. He won't address it. That Yahoo last week in Tampa, I don't know what he's doing. He definitely doesn't want to talk about marijuana. This gentleman right here is where it's at. Right here. Give it up for this guy. So, he's the man. So, I'll step down here. So there's some good news and some bad news about introducing this cat. The good news is that he's the highest profile government official to come out for marijuana reform and legalization. The bad news is he's still the only one to do it. Yeah. So give it up. The former governor of New Mexico, the badass Gary Johnson.
All right. So in 1970, I smoked marijuana for the first time. And when I smoked marijuana for the first time, what I discovered was everything that the government had said about marijuana was a lie.
Yeah.
I remember being in civics class in 1971, senior in high school, and I remember a police detective from Albuquerque coming into the classroom and lighting up a marijuana smell-alike deal. And basically saying that if you smell this, you run, because we're going to arrest you. And I raised my hand in that class and I said, you know, I just read where there are 10 million regular users of marijuana. I just read where 100 million Americans have smoked marijuana. You're going to put them all in jail? I don't know about all those, but if you smoke it, you're going to be behind bars. That's what's going to happen to you. This is an issue that really transcends party lines. I think it's one of the biggest issues. This is perfect timing. This is a good sign, not a bad sign, okay? Electrocuted up here on stage.
Kyle, can you go grab the umbrella for me?
Fast forward. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. So,
teamwork.
I'm running for governor of New Mexico in 1994. I'd never run for public office before. 1994. They asked me the question, had I ever smoked marijuana? Well, yes, I had smoked marijuana. I had never exhaled when it came to marijuana. Now, there was a lot of conjecture at that time. Did I have a drug problem? No. Had I ever been in rehab? No. Were you remorseful for your smoking marijuana? Was this just a youthful indiscretion? No. No, no, no. So in 1999, beginning my second term as governor of New Mexico, keeping with a promise, and that promise was to put the issues that should be on the front burner regardless of the political consequences. I wanted to take a really high-profile look at the war on drugs, and I wanted to include legalization as a potential alternative. I had no idea the compelling argument that surrounds legalizing marijuana, and you start with Holland and you start with Portugal, where the drug use is 60% that of the United States. Now, that's on a per capita basis, but that's marijuana, that's hard drugs, and that's kids, and that's adults. Portugal, over the last 10 years, they decriminalized all drug use in response to a heroin epidemic, and they've shown a 50% reduction in heroin use over the last 10 years. We are at a tipping point on this issue. In 1999, when I brought up this issue, 30% of Americans supported legalizing marijuana. Today, 50% of Americans support legalizing marijuana. Why is the number so high? It's because we're talking about it. And the more people talk about it, the better the issue becomes. It becomes an issue of prohibition. It becomes an understanding that 90% of the drug problem is prohibition-related, not use-related, and that is not to discount the problems with use and abuse. It's on the ballot in Colorado in November. I think this is the actual tipping point, will be when Coloradans vote to regulate marijuana like alcohol. This is very, very significant. Don't forget that Denver, 6 years ago, voted to decriminalize marijuana on a campaign based on marijuana being safer than alcohol. I have always maintained, I don't smoke pot today, I don't drink today, but I've drank and I've smoked pot, and I will tell you that in no category is marijuana more dangerous than alcohol. 500,000 Denver citizens agreed with me on this one. So we're at a tipping point. This is going to be a state's issue. It's going to be a state's issue. Colorado is going to be the first state. And how's that going to affect the other states? Well, when all the other states come Friday evening, get on a plane to go to Denver to chill out, that's when the rest of the country will fall in line with rational drug policy. And hypocrisy. The hypocrisy that exists among elected officials. Elected officials that in the name of saving the world, elect me and we'll fight terrorism. Well, that comes at a cost of tens of thousands of innocent people dying abroad. That comes at a cost of our men and servicewomen coming back in body bags. It comes at a cost of our men and servicewomen coming back with their limbs blown off. Let's stop. And in the name of kids, in the name of children, we need to criminalize marijuana. Well, what's the cost of that been? We now have tens of millions of Americans who are convicted felons that but for our drug laws would otherwise be tax-paying, law-abiding citizens, and the war goes on. We're arresting 1.8 million people a year in this country. Half of what we spend on law enforcement, the courts, and the prisons is drug-related. Let's bring this to an end. I am running for President of the United States under the Libertarian ticket. I am asking you to vote for me. Vote Libertarian this one time. Give me a chance. If it doesn't work out, we can always return to the tyranny of the two-party system, but I'm asking you to give me a chance. Live free. Thank you very, very much.
No, I'm with Reason. I've been Gary Johnson's campaign correspondent. I'm a political correspondent in magazine. I cover libertarian politics. That's teamwork, man. That's teamwork.
Good to see you again, man.
Oh, great seeing you. Yeah.
At the rally.
Yeah, thanks.
Very good.
Right
hey,
on,
real
right
quick
on.
question for
Yes,
you, Gary.
yes.
This is constitutionalwar.org. There's been some talk of Ron Paul making a major announcement tonight. Do you have any idea what that major announcement is?
I have no idea. I have no idea what that might be.
Has there been any consideration of you putting him on the ticket of some sort or anything like that?
You know, that is absolutely problematic given the ballot access that we've. Anyway, it's really, really problematic.
But he might have a spot in your cabinet at some position?
Well, if he wanted to apply for that, I would certainly greet that with open arms.
Very good. Thank you for your time,
thank
Gary.
Thank you all so much. Have a good night.
Great turnout.
Thanks to everybody online for tuning in.